LRF and giving us a brief overview about the activities of LRF. And I believe our author for today is very much with us, patiently waiting. We'll get to him shortly. So we shall be taking the author's biography immediately after now, after which would allow our author to share his work with us. And that will be in 3 segments. I believe as time permits us, because sometimes we get so carried away, we lost track of time. So I hope today's reading will be as interesting as that too. So we always give room for the author to share his work with us, or his or her work with us, taking the first reading, then pausing briefly for reactions from the audience. Then, depending on the reactions, the author takes the second and the third reading, if time permits. We look forward to a very interesting time, and I know you won't be disappointed for those who are just joining us. So I'll be calling on Mary to take the bio of our author this evening. So, Mary, over to you.
Yeah, thank you so much, ma'am. Happy New Year once again to everyone. And I'll be taking the author's bio. Ndubuisi Martins is a poetry theorist, critic, and writer. The author of 2 full collections of poetry.
Sorry, Mary, sorry for cutting. So can we have the author turn on the video, because we are now being streamed online, so that as we are reading is okay. Thank you. So people can see who we are talking about. Thank you. Please, you can start from beginning.
Okay, sir. Ndubuisi Martins is a poetry theorist, critic, and writer. The author of 2 full collections of poetry. One called Many Answers, published 2017, and Answers Through the Bramble, which was published 2021. Longlisted for 2022 Pan-African Writers Association Poetry Prize in the English category, and Poetry Gazelle, The Harmony of Lost Things, 2003, which was selected by Caltiva under Shamvumi Gazelle series. Ndubuisi Martins Anyemeka is also a PhD student in the Department of Anglophone Literatures and Cultures at Charles University, Prague. He earned his Masters of Arts in English Literature and Bachelor of Arts in Education, English from University of Ibadan, Nigeria, and the University of Nigeria, Nsukka, respectively. Mr. Anyemeka was invited to the Monday Forum, where he lectured on post-colonial theory and Nigerian literature at Palaki University, Olomouc, Czech Republic, at the University of Siena in Arezzo, Italy. Anyemeka presented a paper on Ben Okri's novel, along with the theme of the Hermes Doctoral Summer School. An emerging scholar in Anglophone literature with a bias for poetry and poetics, theory and criticism. Anyemeka's articles and reviews have appeared in learned journals and literary magazines, or they are forthcoming in monographs and edited collections of essays. Please welcome Mr. Ndubuisi Martins Anyemeka.
Yes. That's quite an impressive bio, and quite intimidating. Hearing those achievements, I'm beginning to see we have a formidable force to reckon with as long as literature is concerned, especially in poetry. So I'm beginning to be excited about the thrill this evening is going to give as we listen to our author read from his works which is going to share with us. So on that note, we welcome you, our author, Mr. Ndubuisi Martins, on board as you share with us from your works. Welcome. Can we can't hear you.
Your audio is muted.
Right. The audio is not.
Okay, I think it's
good. It's on.
Oh, great. It's on.
Thank you so much for inviting me, LRF. Especially Mary, who's been in conversation with me over this meeting. I thank you for, of course, the back and forth we had. And today I'm here to discuss my work. And having observed the activities of LRF for some sessions, for some of the readings you've had, I am quite impressed and, of course, grateful for the opportunity given to me to discuss my work. And, of course, keep the fire of literature blazing across Nigeria and beyond. So I thank you all, those of my friends who probably have joined and other members of LRF. I am a poet whose writing is predicated on the idea of call and answer, the idea of the centrifugal idea of call, answer. But of course, what somewhat intersects this call is the curiosity that maybe somewhat nudges every creative to observe their world and somewhat provide certain inquisition about things going on around the world. So maybe you can say that I am partly a scientist listening to the voice of my society and trying to represent, to refract some of the colors of that environment. And like I have been introduced by Mary in that powerful rendition she did. Because she produced that in very good accent, so to say. And so it sounded really impressive to me. And she provided the first identity marker is poetry theorist. And so that leads me to talking about what I am theorizing. I did say that I observe my environment and I try to reenact some of the patterns of behavior of that environment, so that we think of the chameleon as that old lizard that entraps the color of the environment and somewhat reflects the same of the environment, the color of the environment. And so my poetry is like the chameleon, not the negative perception of the chameleon as a deceitful animal. I am not talking about that. That's not the sort of notion I have of the chameleon. I have it as one that patterns its color to the beats and rhymes of the society. And so with my one call, many answers, I started this inquisition, this call and response technique. One will, anybody familiar with my poetry would say all sort of things. Maybe this guy is obscurantist and all that. So the question is the mother call, which is nature, society, environment, and of course the supernatural, the divine, because the poet is always a listening poet and voices speak to the poet. And so he listens to this call, this extraordinary call, and tries to reflect, tries to trap some of these events. And the call is in its entanglement with society, with nature. And so when I write, I try to represent the promptings of my mind, the unconscious, and the society around me. If you find in my collection, the second collection, Answers to the Bramble, you find the way answers come. And the epigraph is drawn from Shindari, the way answers come. I pluck these words from the lips of the wind, ripe like a pendulous pledge. Shindari is one of my biggest influences in Nigerian literature. And I try to follow him even when my style differs greatly from his, but you can always find traces of his influence in my work. Answers or questions come probing all. The constituency chief, whose first bow followed convenient absences, rails in cancer. The blacksmith, who yawns without iron sprawl for his forge, settles for false gains. The singers, whose voices, dog-nosed cold, sing dead hymns. The fast-legged lady, too easy eyes for smokescreen empires, sags soon. The farmer that crouches among others' tendrils, sits on stolen harvest, and the skunk lover that now crowds the honeypot after spikes of jilt. Answers come in garments, sewn in many tongues, spirited nerves, patched by stinging threads of scrubby songs, while wandering, filmed in the nunnery notes, curious embroidery of lovers' lyrics. The ways answers come are in millipede streams, dragging many legs on the face of the earth that gives it dust enough to live. This particular poem comes from that first section called Answering Introit. And if you follow the cue I started with, my poetry is about call and answer. And at the heart of this call and answer is a method called the inquisitional method. That is the question approach to things around me, to the environment. And that is what at least my first, second, and in fact, the manuscript that I'm developing for the third will be based on. I don't know if I'm allowed to read another poem in line with the idea, the ideation, mother call, answer, and response.
Yes, the
Okay,
floor is open for you. We are
right.
already engrossed and you are whetting our appetite already. So we are eager. Our
Okay.
ears itching.
Thank you so much.
Uh,
So
guys,
another very important one, circulating answers. I would go from, if I read the first one and it's somewhat revolves around the socio-political Nigerian the socio-political Nigerian environment. This particular one is taking us to America. Answers for Another America on page 26, in case you have the book. Answers for Another America. Feet in clanks, not anklets, tell of the crossing. Jamestown knew pretty well the cries. The map again, that middle passage swords recalled on the human hordes across these Atlantics. Forever tugging at the mind, often pierced by renewed racist savagery. At Minneapolis, Manhattan, and Pennsylvania, on Black streets, for every sugarcane plantation stands today in the trumping paradise of another America, without the walls of Mexico, in the compass of a yet racist reunion, garnished with the apple smell of a Bibled Eden. Crossing the borders, the scorpions slither on. The feet must endure many stings from the sophists who have unending names for evils of another race, but theirs are the famine of svelte signs, the El Dorado of priestly obeisance, and manners above the blush, deodorized infamy. Others stink in the very nostril of their putrefaction. The darkly narrative is dim. The pawns of the devil may not after all be black. The seats were spread on whitish foams that cast despicable glances at other beings, too pale in their eyes. Crossing the borders keeps the flames of memories, vestiges of race, self-grandiose men squawk sitting on the eyelids of time. And the loin is again worn in Libya, brain sealed in a metal forge, to think again another middle passage. That again is something about answers. And then of course, this very one, I like to always take the Answers for Another America with Tide of Answers, because somewhat I try to create such parallelism in my writing. Maybe it's unconscious, maybe it is also conscious, or a blend of both, you could say. You have Tide of Answers. Let the wind, let the pipe, let the windpipe come through hazels, hearts through clanks, martial music of new hyenas raise for Tide of Answers. Let the tremors of the quaking sea be my escort through the dunes where camels' feet rock. The path and remembering is on the edge of eternal wrongs. Make me the reed on the road, the goiter on highways of hyenas' lungs, tyrant scrub, masses analgesic, numb, brittle for the flaming tongue, spiking through uneasy silence, hatched here for donkey years. Make me a tide of answers for still-bettered calls and long-waiting prayers, readied by patience in the maternity of heartless midwives. Let me be the tide of answers. Again, this particular word, Answers through the Bramble, that is the titular poem. The lungs will wake in the thorns of scars. The sun will pierce through the dark clouds. A song gathers in this wind-fraught pipe, waiting for birds and rebirths. Low answers, high answers, scrubby answers for multilect calls. The brambled house voices. Earthworms fret for their million legs, wait for jarring rituals. Answers break decades of silence, mound of wrongs in the reticent grovel. Renewed decibel, iron flames burn chaps, cliffs run into abyss, no initial narrative, no depth for Bermuda's non-returning selves. Once these answers claim that tongue of fires. Thank you. I have finished reading poems that really address the central notion of answers. in my work.
Wow. I'm just I'm just still trying to wrap my head around the notion of answers, because the more you read from one poem to the other, the more you unveil more questions than answers. Maybe the way I perceive it. But I'm sure this is your style is one style that will require a very sound literary knowledge, sound literary skills to decipher answers. You are so good in, embedding your message, or let me say encrypting it. So you want to really appreciate and understand and digest it fully, one will have to do a lot of decrypting. So I really love that. It's a high level of professionalism. I will call your style of poetry a very top-notch professional writing. And I'm glad we are starting with you this year on this high note. So kudos to you, our poet. And I would like to commend your handling of imagery. In your introduction, you said you draw inspiration from nature and you try to correlate your experiences with through observations and reactions to your environment. And this, I would say, is highly reflected in your work. And one striking quality of your work is your eloquence, and you are just at ease. You flow into your work. You are reading as if it is just a part of you. You are sharing with us, so relaxed. I love that. I love that. And that's another kudos. And I believe so many of our audience will be having the same feeling I'm having. And we'll still be itching to hear you read some more. According to you, you said you've exhausted the areas of your work that deals with, please, can you recap that again? Sorry.
Not all of them, you could say.
Okay.
Hello? Can you hear me?
I can hear you. I can hear you.
We can hear you.
We can hear you.
I think his network is frozen.
Oh.
Oh.
Whoa.
Hopefully it's sorted soon.
Oh, whoa. This network should not just bring this up this evening. Oh, no.
Hopefully we'll be back soon.
So maybe before he comes back,
okay.
if we have
oh, great. Okay. Is
one or
back soon?
two reactions from the audience. Anyone with any observation or comments?
Honestly, I've already rushed to unmute myself.
Okay. Thank God you're back.
While you was reading, I was feeling as if I was taken back to my 400th level class of African literature. Sincerely, like, you know how he reads, I find myself laughing, keying into everything that he's reading. I feel like all the poems that he read are so relatable. It takes me back to poems like Homeless, Not Hopeless, Ambassadors of Poverty. I love Ni Oshundare. For the fact that, like, I know, sir, this is just an amazing. If if I will want to go back for a PhD, permit me, I will look for you. I will write on you.
Yes, yes. His style is worthy of academic study.
Thank you.
Yes. Oh, is he on now? Are you on now?
He's back now.
Oh,
Yeah, yes,
you're
I am
welcome
back. I've always been here, only that this tripped off somehow. I wouldn't know. I guess there was a glitch.
Yes, yes. There's a glitch.
Right. So thank you so much for your kind words. They help a lot to somewhat make me want to do more. They help. I do not somewhat take them for granted. If my poetry is difficult and protean, you could say, for some people, it is because the subject calls for it. That's what I tell people. When I want to write a poem that is relatable, that is prosaic, it would often depend on the subject that I'm dealing with. So normally the subject calls attention to its style. And I try as much as possible to be as flexible as I can. All my poems, I don't believe they read the same. I don't believe that all of them are as difficult as some others as well. Basically, the truth is the subject dictates the tune, or I mean the style, really. It's the subject that calls attention to how it wants to be written. Maybe my third collection will be a lot easier on my audience, on my readers. But for now, I'm looking at some of the I'm flowing with the current of answers. Basically, the way I am nudged to write what I'm writing about. And so I think I would say honestly, my loyalty is to my craft. Basically, not to the readers. I'm sorry, so to say. So my craft will tell me, oh, there has to be some sort of audience for this craft. So if I say my loyalty is to my craft, not to my readers, it could mean that I am somewhat probably thinking of being monologic, maybe speaking to myself, writing for myself, or writing for a particular audience. That's not what I mean. My craft, my subject dictates, calls attention. I do not control the subject. I cannot control the subject. If I cannot control the subject, I can't equally control the style, you could say. So I just might be a bit sorry for those who might not want to dig deeper, who would not want to burrow into my writing to figure out the meaning of it.
Yes, I would agree 100% with you on that. That you are more crafty in your writing. That's why I said it will require a lot of literary acumen to decipher the messages of your poem, and your targeted audience would have a lot to deal with. So that alone, that in itself is just style. It's a style on its own. So
Thank you for recognizing that.
having you vesting your loyalty on your craft rather than the audience, that's the style we are talking about. And the audience that would be interested in your work will come in well prepared to really unravel your works. And I particularly would love to reverence was it the second poem you read, Answers for Another America? In fact,
Yes.
I would say when you mentioned Answers for Another America, I never guessed you told the line of going as far as slavery, but that one is a very good one. That shows you are not just whimsical. You've said it all that you craft your poem, so you must do a lot of researches and delve back into history, going through the era of slavery and the blacks to paint the imagery of the gory fate the blacks had to endure. Then one striking twist is you coming back to Libya in Africa. that got me. I just love that twist. That's a great
This,
one. That's a
yes,
great
this.
one. So,
So with that, what I was going to do is to reflect upon Middle Passage and reflect upon Jamestown, the 16th century and transatlantic slavery, and then
trade, yeah.
and then come back to Mediterranean crossing that is happening in Libya.
Okay,
So it's somewhat entangled. I try to create such entanglement, and then of course I situated that to the rife racism that that America has created with its own identity. You know, I mean, the whitish form and all that are such images that pinpoint some of the recent racist attacks in America. Basically, I think my mention of Minneapolis was somewhat an unconscious reference to what happened to Floyd in 2022 or thereabout. You know, the Derek Chauvin, the white police officer, knelt on this black man.
Yeah.
So the Minneapolis reference there is on that sort of reaction to recent racist attacks on blacks in America.
Yeah.
Some persons have asked me, why are you taking on the agency of the Black American to share their burden? And the question is, there is the secondary agency that I bear, that I share, because I'm a black man, and I could be George Floyd.
Yeah.
I could be George Floyd. Being George Floyd, being a black man, subject already disposed to racism. It means that if I behave like the people in Neo-Shundari is not my business. There's a poem, Neo-Shundari is not my business.
Not my business, yeah.
Not my business. I would be in trouble because it would mean that I am almost not attentive to some of the problems of the black man. I would be in trouble if I am not listening to some of the events happening around me.
Around there.
And so that secondary agency is quite necessary, if you ask me.
Good.
It is what I try to do.
Wow. Thank you so very much for that.
And the way I have done.
I guess at this juncture, we'll have you take us through another session of your work, another reading, before we take reactions from the audience.
Okay. I would just ask for some time to switch this to my to my other device because I am
Wow.
The network is just trying us this evening.
I think it says switching, so let's hope that's maybe that the one
And
is
always choosing the peak of the show.
It's
Nigeria. I think
he's joining us
if
now.
we have reactions from the audience, preferably the written typed one, so that as soon as he comes on board, we can pick some to reach to his hearing.
He's back now, so but we can take reactions while he's settling in.
Oh, okay. Please, sorry for that breaking transmission. I had to switch devices. I have 3 devices here. I'm home in Nigeria at the moment at the University of Ibadan.
You know already from the network.
So this is Nigeria happening to me.
Yes,
really. So
all whole Nigeria for that.
Exactly. So I'd take some other kinds of reading. I'd read for, I think this is always a popular choice. Nigeria is a badly behaved poem. It's always this idea is that my writing is often centered on social commentary, on things that, uh, insult the human sensibility. Nigeria is a badly behaved poem. Is on page 55. If you have the collection, is on page 55. Homeland, green for kleptocrats, is read in my verse. A poem written as an epic, becoming unfitting, oversized sheets of noisy lullaby of countryside. The metaphors quick rather than rhyme. Our poetry leaves many gnawing and a few looking through an awkward mask of meaning. Sound is a blast, quarrelsome vowels, crunching consonants, and vexed stanzas spit venoms. A bad poem is A Country of Tribes, 1914. Lugadian convenience, that fiefdom where silence befriends oppression, and masses learn to live, to adjust in circles of ever unfolding penury. Niger is a poem, a badly behaved poem. As you can see, Niger just happened to me. Somewhat, reading this poem is some kind of a reaction to Nigeria being a badly behaved poem. Just at the moment where I was trying to do something intellectual in a meeting with other people, light went out. This doesn't happen where I'm coming from. It only happens with serious notice, 3-4 months notice. If it happens, it's 1 hour or 2. Because they would have to do some kind of routine checks and all that. That's why it happens. It doesn't happen as a habit. But here, it points to the whole idea of Nigeria being a badly behaved poem. Although I have made certain reference to historical concatenation of nations that didn't have any business being together. I made certain reference to what the late sage Obafemi Awolowo called a geographical expression, that Nigeria is what? Just a mere geographical expression.
Yeah.
So certain things about naming and about what Nigeria has come to be is central to my craft, to my work, to my poetics. So if you say my work is personal, you will not forget to say it is also public, because it attends to public matters as much as it deals with the private. So you could say again, certain work, which the one that follows, this particular poem appeals to me a lot. And it is about the sort of unimaginable behavior about pretension, about many things that do not go well for society. And this is also in tune with what I mentioned earlier about my poetry responding to social currents around me. There is a laughter that haunts us. A grain is twice surprise, 2 tracks of sunlight, dark sunlight of foraging sorrow. And we are clasped by many fingers here. Fingers that braid our hairs and pull at our beard. Fingers that soothe our nerves and ride rough on our contours. Fingers that merge our colors into sodium and ammonia for eternity of bitterness glossed within love. That is a laughter that haunts us. A wail is music to the somber wind, 2 miles up front from biting airs, and we are urged by the warmth of grief amidst steering wheels of billowing rays. There are rays that gallop through our thoughts, rays that fly whisk our fears, rays that sing bliss with steady bursts. Here is home where laughter pinches, where darkness sits interred in our smiles. This very laughter haunts us. And then if you say that I respond to the Biafran unconscious, you could relate to my poem, Report, which follows immediately. There is a laughter that haunts us. We wake not by cockroaches here anymore. Bullet sounds and shrills topple nature. Reports rifle through our beings. The tamarind bus shrill ends still. Beginnings for twilight are a day longer. We stay in touch with green moons and orbs, settling for debris as fate. Live forever in the phrase, it is well with my soul. Curse the gods who leave us reeling in the vomit of searching trust and thrust, as some leading light left the songs in the sourceful goiters. In dissonant cries, there are blaring news of new pogrom and herdsmen orgies, IPOB rants, leverage on war on religious pythons to get peace, leverage on secession from regional bile and burst to opt out the Bia tribe from this cursed marriage on the Teters. Reports are not for trees which wait to be cut. This report is not for the ark waiting to be swamped by the Nile. Part the Red Sea and move to the hill. No Moses' rod rescues more than the human will. Report reigns through phalanx. This yoked love is but reports. And the next poem, which I may not read, and probably people who have this book can look at, is "And You Wonder Biafra Still Breathes." That follows immediately. So these 3 poems are held by certain thematic currents.
about the insistence on being together when everything looks to fall apart. It is something I do not understand. If things fall apart, if things want to actually fall apart, why don't we look at the ultimate solution? Why do we allow certain set of people to feel hard done by? Why do we see agitation as criminal? All of these things tend to, prod my consciousness about writing about the Biafran question. And I started basically on a defamiliarizing note. If you notice, in the first movement, I didn't talk about Biafra. I talked about setting lead on to the whole crisis that we find. And then somewhere along the line, I made it somewhat obvious that I am discussing a contentious issue about self-determination. So all of these I try to reflect upon as a creative mind. Thank you. So I'd like to take reactions. Maybe that allows me to.
Of course, I know people by now will be itching to say one or two things in reaction to this sudden shift in your style. So here I can see the fighter poets. In fact, immediately you read the second poem, Laughter That Haunts Us. I immediately pinpointed the trend that, this is where this guy is going. In fact, I wrote something that let me read what I wrote down. I personally love the arrangement. Maybe consciously done or not, but you've cleared that it's a conscious effort on your part. But I wrote here that maybe conscious or coincidental from the larger picture. That is the ungodly marriage of Lord Lugard, bringing people who had no business being together under one umbrella in 1914. That's the larger picture. That is farther away. Now I'm bringing it down to the local of Biafra. That's the way I put it down here. So, and luckily you've cleared that. So I love that. In fact, that's what poets do. And I'm a teacher of literature. I tell my students, poetry is one genre of literature that thrives so much on human emotion. You just have to be pushed by your experience and emotion to write. That's how it works for me. I have my compilation of poems that will be published soon. And by the time it hits the tablet, I know people would just see that this is one emotion-driven poet. No, not unexpected of a lady, of course, but emotion is the bedrock of poetry. And I can understand your feelings for Biafra. And the best way to put it out is through your God's giving gift. So I share the same sentiment with you that the facade called Nigeria is a facade. There's no point saying keeping the obvious or there's no gainsaying that fact. So, but one man sat down and decided to achieve his own personal purpose that he's been sent to Africa to achieve. He must bring together people of diverse cultural background, diverse beliefs to one. and we still live by it till tomorrow. An average Nigeria will continue to be driven by the demons of his cultural background, which is tribalism and nepotism.
Yes.
And topping it up with
primordial
religiosity.
instinct. Yeah, religiosity. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Exactly.
Religion that has taken away humanity from us. The more religious we are, less human.
I would like, please, if I can take this, I would like to pay certain obeisance to one of my mark as a mark of respect for Pius Adesomi. I'd like to read this poem because Professor Pius Adesomi, late Pius Adesomi, fought the ills that Nigeria have combated for many years, or maybe other critics like Gani Fawenhimi, Dele Giwa, and certain other fierce critics. And I wrote one. Returning the Light as Wreath is the title. Because we're talking about Nigeria now, we're talking about critical consciousness of my writing, and it would almost be aptly wrong if I do not pay this respect to our dead compatriot for Pius Adesomi. Returning the light as wreath. Those feet that beat paths have taken the last dust. Another breath to live again, not in that same flesh, as sure as spirit, spreading through all veins, in seasons, places, and persons. I sing, lay the wreath, for those ears once erect at Isonlu, Ibadan, Louisville, and Ottawa, the antenna of diatribes, coursing through many climes, now shrunken like harmattan leaves. Those wayfarers' deities, foraging the darkest noon, soon bring forth a new sun, disembowered for light, and darkness drained of fear. Those songs retire to the night's pipes, while silence makes a third in Ottawa through Addis and Ibadan. The one who goes is the chlorophyll of time and light. Let life return to all shrunken bodies. For the one who goes as early dark seed returns as long likely shrubs. On the season of dusk, this daggering noon, this hanging tweet, with cash, drowsy memories, this dryness bequeath. Let the rain spread green finger. The one who goes is the chlorophyll of time and light to our earth. I sing, I lay wreath for the wayfarer of light. This poem memorializes Pius Adesomi. His death was a big blow to the intellectual community and to the conscious Nigerian to the Nigerian intellectual. And so I did that to honor his memory. And now that we're talking about Nigeria, we remember his book, Naija No Dey Carry Last. So basically, that's a collection of essays that he's written about the Nigerian situation. And so if we talk about Nigeria, I think that there's no way I'll talk about my poetry without talking about Nigeria. It's almost impossible. I mean, I can talk about my call answer, but the call answer is about what? That's the question. Yeah, it could be about my privations, really, but it's also about the society that that got me more critically conscious about the ills that that bedevil it, you could say. Bedevil it, you could say. So it's something that the Nigerian question is at the heart of my writing, basically. Thank you.
Thanks so much, especially for that tristice on late Pius. Late on, may God rest its soul.
Amen.
Is a great loss to the Nigerian intellectuals you have mentioned. Is one hope that was doused, and his demise has left a great gap in the Nigeria intellectual milieu for those who know what we have lost. So that's a rather sad one. It brings up so many memories for me, but life must go on, as it is said. So thanks so much, our versatile author and poet, for being, in one word, for being humane. Because taking your calls and answers, and this other one of reacting to the Nigeria sociocultural milieu, everything points to the fact that you are one human that is humane enough to be of service to humanity. That's the way I would just frame it.
Thank you for kind
Because
words.
we have so many humans going by the name humans that are not humane at all, and they are minors to humanity. So I'm so proud to have made your acquaintance this evening, because I'm someone that so much loves humanity. And once I see a kindred soul, I'm always elated. So I would leave the floor for our audience to give their own responses, because our time is far spent. And maybe we can take one more or two more poems, but if not, let's have responses from the audience, please. So, our audience,
anyone wants to say anything? I think there were a couple of comments in the chat box.
Okay. Please, can you check the comments there, Mr. Babs?
Okay, thank you, Ajia, for his wonderful work, helping us to bring out the juice out of our author for today and this month. Okay, this is more or less like a thumbs up from Folake Okechukwu, who says, "Well done, sir. Brilliant presentation." And I think, Bart, I thought I was going to ask this question. Bart and Ndubuisi, are you guys friends? Because your voice sounds so much alike. You know, you talk like Bart, or Bart talks like you.
But that is my
Sorry?
egbon. That is my egbon in the Yoruba sense. My elder brother from another mother.
Wonderful.
And one of my mentors.
Wow. It's a good guy. So Bart, your egbon and mentor, says that Martin's poetry undoubtedly is orgasmic. Hey, Dr. Bath, it puts in more to express the weight of the society and his people in his heart. So I mean, that's from another critic and another creative, that's sublime. That, and then Ayotunde Ade,
and they will respond to that immediately.
Ayotunde Adeloye says that simply sublime poetry. Wow, I mean, more or less.
I don't know about orgasmic
text, or he took it out of my mouth. I don't know about orgasmic, but I think Pat is just in his own poetic license to play on the word. And so, I mean, those are very encouraging comments and the endorsement of your creative work. And I don't know if any other person wants to say anything, but you don't want to talk, so that I can be proven right.
Good evening. Yes, good evening, everyone. I think it's afternoon here in Connecticut, and I just simply want to enjoy myself listening to my brother, Ndubuisi Martins. We have come a long way, all the way from the University of Ibadan, where we met. And then since then, art has joined us together. I started by, of course, I've done quite a lot of criticisms on the poetry of Ndubuisi Martins. As a matter of fact, I have written an essay which was also published in a very reputable journal concerning this particular collection. And then I think I have every right to say that his poetry is orgasmic in the sense that, it cuts across different themes, different layers of meaning, such that you can actually lay your hand on it, read the poems, listen to it once more time, and then you go back, you read again, and then the meaning keeps coming. And it's not just like he said, it's not just poetry that is actually limited to a particular setting, that is particularly limited to a particular frame of meaning, that is limited to a particular frame of style. If you look at his introduction in his pre-word, he started by saying there are always occasions for answers. And when I read this introduction, I feel that his art, his poetry, his art, is just his way of expressing, his burdens, telling the world that, oh, these are issues bothering me, and I only have my art to express it. And then let me just read a couple of words that I wrote concerning his poem. In fact, the one he read, Nigeria is badly behaved poem. If you look at the structure of that poem alone, you'll find that you have, I think, six stanzas, which in a way, if we relate it to the orgasmic nature, in fact, it captures the country as it is, giving expression to the six geopolitical zones in Nigeria. And if we say Nigeria is a badly behaved poem, what comes to my mind is, what is a badly behaved poem, especially for us students of literature. When you say a poem is bad, of course, it's bad in the sense that it lacks all the textures of what makes it poetry. And so what makes us individuals as citizens of Nigeria, what makes our country Nigeria what it should be, and what we are experiencing now is an outburst, or is just an expression of, a number of issues, which I believe is what is actually giving him the agitations to unburden some of this rage. And so the rage in the poet's voice reflects the absurdity, not just of the political leaders who have failed ingloriously to provide solutions to the scourge of insecurity across Nigeria, but of course, a poem through the expression of the poet, reminiscing about the barrage of mass killings, kidnapping across Nigeria and what have you. And then when he mentioned them, the issue in Minneapolis and what have you, which, was not something that was far from the experience that some of us, encounter, especially if you are living across borders, this sensitivity of racial prejudice and what have you. And so he carries this burden to every society he finds himself. And so when he made a statement all the time that he's also getting ready for the third collection, I was just, telling myself that, using Fela's popular phrase, basket mouth, what is that you want to say again? I followed him, I followed his political comments on his Facebook, and you could see that this is someone who is very much eager to find Nigeria work. And so sometimes we as poets, when we criticize the ills of the society, it's not that we hate the country. No, we want it to work. We want the best for our country. And so we cannot but keep on, pointing out these ills, which from time immemorial, the likes of Neo Shundari, JP Clarks, and what have you have in the past lent their voice with respect to this issue. And as a matter of fact, this evening, I don't even want to say more because I just want to listen to him and listen to others as well, so that I can also have a variant of their perception with respect to Martin's poetry.
Well, that's thumbs up for you, Bart, for such a very lucid commentary on Ndubuisi's collection, and also chipping in your own critical review of, the situation in Nigeria, and it's pathetic, not something you can overflog really, but we just hope that by continue talking about it, the more we talk, the more people who are intellectuals, who are enlightened, who have platforms, keep harping on these things, it will eventually get to the appropriate quarters, and the kind of change that we've been desiring would actually start to happen, not just in Nigeria, but across the world, because these are poems that actually address social, cultural, economic, and political issues across the world. So thanks for always coming. Thanks for your encouragement of our author for today and being such a wonderful ally and mentor to him. Do we have any other comment, any other question, any other remarks from any of the audience, please? Please, you have the mic now. I think there are a couple of more comments that were dropped. Okay. Fumi Gaji said that she wrote, "Brilliant session. Thank you, our great poet. I would like to address the burden of understanding in relating with poets of this nature. Readers should try not to be deterred. It's okay to not understand poem on your first, second, or third readings. Approach it with a vulnerable mind. Ask the poem questions. Ask yourself questions as well. There will be answers. Poets like Ndubuisi always have answers to questions you should have, but didn't even think of having in the first place." Wow, that's very that's very intellectual. That's more or less like another critique also dropping our thoughts on this very beautiful work that Ndubuisi has shared with us today. And then Ajia say, okay, oh, okay. I think Ajia is on the call with Professor Neo Shundari. So I think I would just have to compare or coordinate the event till we bring the curtains down. So any other comment, any other response, please, to some of the poems that we've had read to us today? Anyone, please, willing to share with us? Apart from dropping comments, of course, we actually appreciate hearing you the more. The thing is that we are being streamed live. People in the outer world, they will not see your comments. They will only, they won't see your comment that you posted or you dropped it. They will only hear your voice as you engage the session. So we usually encourage you to talk. Let's hear your voice. Let's hear your thoughts so that we all can learn from your insights and be the better for it. Any other person willing to talk? Okay, I think on that note, I would like to say thank you to Ndubuisi for. Oh, do you still have any other ready to share with us?
Yes, I'd like to read two more, please.
Okay, please go ahead.
Because they are a departure from what I've read, and
oh, great. Okay,
you
please,
know,
please, you have the
two
mic
more,
now.
please.
No problem.
I try as much as possible to regard women in my lives and advocate for girl child. I advocate against girl child abuse and all that. You will find that in some of the poems that I have. Mariam is memories is on the internet. For example, you browse Mariam is memories, published in African Writer. You have the one with which I discussed certain other abuses, like you have conversations with loss, and then you have a muted song of pain where I talked about politics and the death that have taken some of our beloved and all that. So the one I'd like to read is Stories in My Mother's Eyes. After which I read the final one about my wife, Antoinette Olamide, whose presence in my life is a catalyst for continuous poetry, and that entanglement with the romantic part of me and the critic and the critical part as well. You could say, for my mom, Obi Kanebi, I know the unwritten stories of pain on your face. I know you tarry for a long gain amidst the odds of crooked plots of the strange narrator that co-opted your smiles into initial plastic prose, which fizzled through the wind of cracking reading, till you again find love with familiar smiles. I know your many stories. I see wild beasts roar in the stares of men, and mattered metaphors in the glint of my mother. When men go to bed with long thistle thoughts of conquest, my mother thinks of dreams sheltered in the womb of time. When dogs comes and that man stretches from pretentious plows, Abby heads to spin tasty meals from our limited kitchen. When birds give songs to many men for a season, they give you the silent mien of a singer to hone your tongue for longer, bounteous seasons. And now this poem ends this collection. You would find it on page 95. It is dedicated to my wife, Olamide Kende Ajilatoni, who is now Olamide Kende Ndubuisi and Emeka. I found you near the purple portal of Lent, between the darkling sun and the forest sunset. I found your silky smile, and since I fetched it, my heart's lit with fires. Yours outburns for me. I'll rustle chlorophyll times. I will nestle here. Love stays lit. Vanquished in this light, you now make of my night. I will be all shine, and you, my star gift for a lifetime. So with this poem, you could find the very angry poet allowing love, deep affection to touch him, and the poet, you could say, becomes a lover. Thank you for this evening.
Wow. That's on a great note. I love that note. That the fighter poet is also a lover.
A lover. and the doting son.
That means
Yes,
so
and a
much from
dirty
being with
son.
me and being my love.
Oh,
Thank you so much, our poets, our fighter
Okay.
poets, our dynamic poets, who could
Yes.
switch. I now relate with your analogy of the chameleon, the positive chameleon, shifting.
Yes.
And to make it scientific, can we say you have mastered the art of shape shifting from one future
Shape-shifting
to
to another,
yes.
according to the subject.
We are glad
Right.
to have you here this
Yes,
evening.
thank you.
And I must confess, it has been a very insightful and enjoyable moment for me, and I know for many people too. So, do we have any other reactions from our audience?
We have a text comment.
Okay.
This is from Henry Ajumeze. He says that I've missed out on what I'm sure would have been a wonderful readings. What have been wonderful readings. Please allow him to read some more, as I'm sure Ndubuisi will be ready to ready to. Encountering his work is really something I find fulfilling in many ways,
Oh, wow.
especially his penchant for wanting to mix criticality and creativity, so that often
Wow.
Ndubuisi's poetry occupies a discursive interstice. Is another very intellectual,
Very captivating capture.
cerebral contribution. And Ayotunde Adeloye also typed that the angry lover boy, chameleon poet indeed. And then Tagang Linus Barry says, it's just so amazing having you as our first author for the year. I had fun today listening and reasoning with you. Thank you. God bless you, sir. That's as far as the reactions go. Thank you very much for being with us today, for sharing from your work. We are grateful to have you, and sharing from your creativity, your output with us. I'm sure, from the comments, from the reactions, you can see that we've all had a beautiful time listening to you. A very engaging one indeed. You started with such a wonderful background of what inspired your writing and all that, and you're explaining your faithfulness to your craft, and and it's obvious. You write with such flair, and I'm sure your audience are just bound to have fun time reading or even listening to you reciting those poetry. So thanks for gracing this occasion. Thanks for opening our curtains for the year with this your creative work. And I want to also thank everybody in the audience who has been here today, starting with us till we actually come to a conclusion of the session for today and this month. It's been nice having you guys. It's been nice reading your comments as you engage our author, so that it doesn't feel like it's alone, because it's one thing to be reading, it's another thing to have audience to read to, and then for the audience to actually engage the creative work. And you guys sort of just made our day. You made my day personally, also made the day of our author or our poet for today. I want to say thank you to every one of you for joining in today. We look forward to seeing you again when we meet next month for February reading. We do this every first Sunday of the month, and we also try to strike the gender dynamics of having male, female author to read to us across the year. So you can be sure that the next author we're going to have in February is going to be a female author. Could be a poet, could be a playwright, could be a novelist. So we look forward to having you same time on Sunday, the first Sunday in February. So I want to say from here, thanks once again. Thanks to Ajia for helping us to coordinate the moderate the session for today. We've all had a wonderful time. The way you also help to, bring out the poet, bring out our, reader from, because that also goes a long way, getting him to actually, to keep opening up and sharing the juice with us, which we all enjoy really. So for me, I want to say bye and have a wonderful new year and a fantastic month of January. Bye.
Same here. Bye.
Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for inviting me. I hope to keep up with the next week your series of readings as they somewhat communicate some of my biggest delights in writing and sharing literature. Thank you so much.
Sure, you're welcome. Bye.